So it was a pleasant and sad experience in my civic responsibility field work today. Pleasant because I observed that fixing our country, Nigeria, is truly possible with a conscious commitment and responsibility as citizens. But sad because it breaks my heart to see how desperate some Nigerians could go or could be to destroy this country with their lawlessness. Yet they complain the most about the situation in the country. This event happens in Abuja on daily basis along the Nyanya to AYA axis. But this particular one case occurred today, 19 September 2022. You know that Abacha barracks, or would I call it Mogadishu Expressway along the Nyanya Express Road, coming to Abuja. Yeah, that just along that express. So some motorists and cyclists, heading for Abuja Center from Nyanya axis, just decided to willfully and intentionally ply the opposite one-way road, the direction on the other side of the road leading from Abuja to Nyanya. So they ended up blocking the road to a massive, terrible gridlock. This madness usually starts as early as 6 a.m. on work days, and today seemed worse because, or maybe worse than previous days I had experienced. I wouldn't know why. It all started small, like that, just small, like early this year, with just cyclists only. But now motorists have joined, and that has become, or it is becoming, a monster experience for motorists on the other side of the road. So, but today was that I was at my work post, watching the event, helplessly unfolding, seeing the pains and stress on the faces of other Nigerians whose way was blocked and their rights trespassed. The worst scenes, we are seeing citizens with official police and military vehicles and other public servant government vehicles who were not on emergency duty at all, but just leading the lawless atrocities and often joining the trail like it has become a norm in Nigeria. And they are obviously showing that they are above the law, in their way of driving. And then you can wonder, is this the kind of society we wish to live in? I also observed that most of this lawlessness, I observed that some other road users, in their right of way, actually make way for these miscreants with no attempts of cautioning them or putting small kind of resistance on them, at least to remind them that these practices are wrong. These miscreants face no resistance at all. So they're encouraged to come in their drones to disobey the traffic laws. Eventually, when the Directorate of Traffic or Road Traffic Service guys, that's the VIO guys, officers arrived, I said, thank God at last. But the worst even happened. These few miscreants, both the motorists and cyclists, even put up a bigger resistance to law and order. Oh, no be small thing, no. I pity those VIO officers. They really worked. In those miscreants, I could see Nigerians who were so determined to beat the law and order just to have their way out. I saw motorists and bikes who desperately risked their lives and the lives of others coming from the other way just to avoid vehicle resistance. This included one bus written Ministry of Communication and something on the body. It also forced its way through a government vehicle for that matter. Kai. Well, that was the point. I dropped my campaign banner at my post. You can see my campaign banner. I just had to drop it and you can see the message written on it, So I just had to drop it and I went to help the VIO officers. I couldn't stand the sight. My heart broke many times. The cyclists were all over the place. In fact, they turned the demarcation green area between the roads and between the two roads. That's the demarcation area where you have flowers or trees. They turned that one into their bypass. You can see damages and injury caused to the environment. You can see all this. These are their wheels, their tires, their maps, all over. So I had to form a barricade, across the demarcation, and used a long, scary stick to contain them off the green area. And somehow that miraculously worked. Somehow it discouraged others from climbing onto the green area. So after ferrying them off, I moved to the major road and insisted that some upcoming some vehicles, they actually maneuvered their way, over to avoid the VIO guys, officers down there, as in down the location, before coming to where I was. So I kind of stood after the VIO guys on that road. So they maneuvered and came up to that place, but I now insisted In fact, well, I I think I think they were a bit stuck. They couldn't have even gone any other way around because the motorists in the other right of the road, as they're coming down, they've already blocked them. So there's no other way for them to move. So I could not record this particular event because I was the only one and I was focused on resolving the anomaly. So I didn't record much. So I got to those motorists and insisted that they must turn back, and allow the right users to have their ways. So they ultimately did. I even had one of the motorists shouting from behind to the other one that I blocked that he F up, that is using the F word, that he was not smart. So that tells me that to them, they are they are not lawless, but they're just being smart. That's the mentality. Most sadly, another security vehicle with thick tinted glass and its number plate covered in black, just came on the same way that was already at gridlock, trying to force its way through. Probably, I mean, it was even there. It's like asking the ones on their right way to make way to probably climb the demarcation or get into the channels or drainages for them to pass or for him to pass. Just one vehicle. Somehow I swallowed the pills of courage to walk up to him and insisted that he was not right, that he had to go back, except if he was on emergency duty, which he was not. It was just a driver and a lady on the passenger side. So I tried to appeal to his conscience that they are destroying this country and the time is already here that good citizens will rise against them to restore the sanity and dignity of this great nation. After persuasion and much of conversations, he turned back respectfully. I think knowing that he was very, very wrong and probably maybe he didn't know whom I was. So finally, these are my observations generally. I observed that these same calibers of citizens are just the same people who force their ways into politics, while the good ones are sleeping. I mean, let me say the good citizens, why the good citizens are sleeping and praying and expecting positive change to happen. You can see that these attitudes are exactly what we see among the bad politicians who find their ways into leadership. So the leadership we have are simply the reflection of the attitudes of the general citizens who play their game. I also realized again that the so-called stubborn cyclists belonging to the lower social class of people or population are even more obedient and responsive to law enforcement than the motorists who belong to the upper social class. This set of people are so arrogant, disrespectful to the law and its agents. I don't know. You can imagine that. So it's not a matter of education this time around. You can't say these guys are misbehaving because they are not educated. These ones that are driving polished cars, educated, speaking good English, fluently and eloquently, they are just arrogantly, they really want to disobey the law and do have their ways against the law agents. They really disrespected those VIO guys. I just wonder, are these people representative of government? Where are we going to? Well, I had also thought that there is a serious mental issue in this country. But I realized that the same people who also travel to their highly revered foreign countries and abroad and behave themselves. But coming back to Nigeria, they wear back their lawlessness. I recall one of my friends who based in the US, those days. He came back for holiday like 4 years ago. So he came to pick me for an outing that we planned to attend together. And on our way, he beat the traffic twice. And I scolded him and I seriously demanded why he beats the traffic with no clear. I'm very, very sure. I really assured him because I know that he wouldn't do that in the US. So why would he do that in Nigeria? And his response was very shocking to me. You know what he said? Oh boy, cool down. No be Niger be this. And Niger we dey now. You can imagine that kind of thing. That tells me that we obviously suffer from our self-induced mental illness or madness. I finally observed that it is just few miscreants that are the main problem of Nigeria. Using this report as a case study, okay, you can see, just look at this site, this video. See the few number of people causing the traffic calamity and causing gridlock and endangering the lives of others. But see the quantum that we are doing the right thing. These are the population who decides not to be idiots, but law-abiding. Can you see that? Can you see that? Again, the sad truth is that this population doing the right thing, does not believe that they can stop these few miscreants Mentally, they believe they can't do anything. So mentally, they don't even own Nigeria. It is not their business. They just want to find their way to their work and take care of their personal business and leave. Then the society and the community is there for everyone. The calamity, everybody suffers. So they leave the work, of keeping the law and order and taking back our country to the law enforcement agents who are also like us, only that they professionally and legitimately commit to keeping everyone safe and happy. Why can't we help them? Why can't we work with them as responsible citizens that most of us are? Why do we allow these few people to give us bad names in politics and in public life? Yes, I know. Yes, anybody can say yes, the government is not helping matters, as you can find in the report and in other realities of bad government or bad governance. Let me even tell you that bad governance is a product of civic irresponsibility among the citizens. One does not become a bad person simply because you're a leader or when he becomes a leader. Check all bad leaders and check their private lifestyles and personalities as citizens. They are bad as citizens. They are only exhibiting leadership is just an expression of whom they are, their personalities. Unfortunately, we don't even have any kind of core civic education to let our younger ones be on the right side of civility. Then, like I said, the good side of my experience today is that New Nigeria is possible, and it is in the hands of us, all of us, to make it possible. But it must be a conscious effort and work. Our problem is not from the moon or too complicated because we are the problems. We are our own problems. It will take us to solve us. It will take us to resolve us, and not international communities or the United Nations like most of us will hear. We can start small, and the good news will be that we have started and we now have a direction. Well, as we work to put the best set of leaders in power in 2023 to help us sanitize our political and governance system, let us also make our minds to work with them from 2023 by sanitizing the citizenry and supporting each other. Let us support the government. Let us support the good law enforcement agencies. There are good ones there, both in the government, even in politics. So let us support these good ones. There are many of them out there. There is not all of them that are corrupt as we think. So we must start resisting these few miscreants, supporting the law enforcement agents small, until we occupy and restore the sanity and dignity of Nigeria. Any miscreant that does not want order in this country can go and check other countries. Let me tell you, from 2023, I'm sure they will start sensing that all eyes are on them and the fellow citizens will resist them. It's not something you just do. You wait for police or army to come. To come to that point, and we are planning to initiate a program that citizens are taking charge of. That program from 2023, I think that will be the end of discussion for all these things. When citizens have become the government themselves and they will work with the government hand in hand. This is our country. We have no other country. We have no other option than to save this country. I'm telling you honestly. Those miscreants will know that they're no longer qualified to be among us until they become true citizens who take full responsibilities for their nation. That is whom we are. A new Nigeria is possible.